Okay.
All right, welcome to Strategies, Tech Tools, and SEL Revisioning the Bluegrass. Sorry about that. Allison and Daniel Bemiss have been in education for over 15 years. Allison is an early child consultant for Green River Regional Educational Cooperative, or GREC, where she works to encourage innovative thinking in early childhood and elementary age children. She previously worked for the Center for Gifted Studies at WKU as project coordinator for Little Learners, Big Ideas. Allison is the author of Hands-on STEAM Explorations for Young Learners, Problem-Based Investigations for Preschool to Second Grade, and Inspiring Innovation and Creativity in Young Learners, Transforming STEAM Education for Pre-K through Grade 3. Daniel is a middle school teacher, history and social studies. I'm an 8th grade social studies teacher too, and I love the things that Daniel brings and posts, and I am learning from him greatly. So I am excited that you all are here so that we can learn together today. If you have questions, I know that they'll be doing stuff through the Pear Deck. I'll repost that in the chat room if you're just joining us, as well as if you have questions, you can post those in the chat and we will get to those as well. All right, go ahead and take it away, guys.
All right, Justin, we were so glad to see you. And it's such an honor to hear you say nice words because you're a phenomenal teacher.
You're amazing.
Okay. You'll even see some of your influence in some of these slides. You just hold on.
Yeah.
So we're here. Hopefully you're in the right spot. You wanted to be with us when we were talking to Lynette and Dr. Julia and Tracy, Dr. Inman this summer or early fall, and they mentioned KAGE to us. These were the topics that they said they would like for us to share. So we were thrilled to do it, and we have put them together. Okay. I do want to say that we have our 15-year-old watching our 9-year-old and our 2-year-old dog. So at any point, it may all break loose in this house. Okay. And we'll go ahead and apologize in advance for that. And our internet is also weaker in the afternoon. So just be patient with us. So we are doing strategies, tech tools, and social emotional learning, revisioning the Bluegrass. We're going to start with social emotional learning just because I think that is where we all start with education. Our Twitter handles we put here, I'm at Teacher Allison.
And I'm at Daniel Bemiss EDU.
If you tweet out about this session, we'd love for you to tag us in it, okay? So that we can connect with you on Twitter. Oops. All right. So I actually got this I'm lucky that at GREC I get to work with my mother, and she is on here. Jamie Spagnardi shared this at one of our early childhood leadership meetings that we had recently. And I know many of you have probably seen this Jan Brett book. It's a classic called The Mitten, and it was perfect because we just had a lot of snow. Hopefully, we're 60 today in Bowling Green, so hopefully you've warmed up a little bit. You had the best of the winter weather, and now we're starting to feel like spring a little bit today. So the story, The Mitten, the little loses their mitten in the woods, and it gets really cold and it snowed. And one by one, each animal finds home and warmth in the mitten. But each time a new animal comes, they say, oh, we're stretched too thin. We're stretched too thin. We just don't think that we can get one more animal in here. But the grandmother's knitting held. And so we thought that was a beautiful example for how we're all feeling right now. At this point in the pandemic, we've all been stretched too thin at different points. Okay. So I want you to reflect on your own life, about school and everything else that's going on. And we'd love to hear about some of your moments or some of the things that make you feel stretched too thin. So we'll share a example for you as you write in. Daniel, tell them how to write in their response.
So there should be on the right-hand side of your screen, it says answer here, and you can type your response, and you don't have to hit enter or a space bar or anything. It automatically enters it in.
Yeah. So we're going to give you a minute to just type in your responses. You've held together, you're here, you're like the mitten, but what are some things that have made you or your families feel stretched this year?
I think we got 9 responses. 10.
So as these are coming in, hopefully you can, if you want to see the responses, then you can look at the Zoom presentation. You're going to see your responses are starting to come up. AP Art History for the first time in developing a new, I've got our pictures here in the way, curriculum for visual art for elementary, 17 different classes keeping up with loading and preparing lessons for each group, not to mention it takes 20 minutes just to post the reminder messages to all of my different classes.
Job as a teacher at the same time as parenting full time, realizing all the needs and not being able to meet them from a distance.
But I'm on a different one.
Okay. Parenting and teaching at the same time. Is that the one you just, yeah.
Or no, I didn't read that one.
Okay. Plus juggling schedules for when we return to in-person, virtual, half in-person, half virtual, all the things. Woo, what a wild ride. Even that sentence alone, just think about what would you have done if you had read that sentence this time last year, at the end of February last year, if you read that sentence and knew you were going to be writing it this year. I think you'd probably be amazed at all the things that you've been able to do while stretched so thin.
Yeah.
Being isolated in my home to feel safe, trying to get my kids logged in online, my elderly mom, and worried for her health. I think what we're seeing, and I'm not reading all of these, I will scroll through. New position, first year as a GT coordinator. It's a hard year to start a new position. Teaching all the classes and managing children. Yeah. Quarantining for 2 weeks and then a week and a half of snow. It's just madness. Testing, screening students in a remote schedule. Hybrid teaching, also supporting college student and high school sophomore
and 2 7th graders at home.
Yeah. So I think what we're saying is, and thank you, we had a lot of responses there. We appreciate you sharing that, because that does put you in a vulnerable position to just start right out with sharing some of those concerns that we have. But here's what I want us to know. What were the commonalities? We all had things about our own job, right, that have become more stressful. We had things about our family, trying to teach to children and trying to teach to our students. And then also things about families, like I saw an elderly mother worried about health and safety, feeling isolated and feeling at home. I think it's important that we remember we feel all of these things, and our children are also feeling all of these things. Although there is hope on the horizon and many people are being vaccinated, it's still a very difficult world that we've been navigating the last year, and that's been taxing on us. So we wanted to start out with just that awareness. I'm going to hide these responses now. So we're going to start, anytime you think about social emotional learning, and we're going to just start with talking about Maslow. I know you've seen a lot of Maslow, you know Maslow. He's been our best friend in this last year. I feel like Bloom was always our best friend in the past, and now it's Maslow, but we know that both are important. But if you look at the bottom levels of Maslow's, that's food, water, warmth, and rest. In the last year, there have been times, and you can raise your hand, you can just nod your head, whatever you want to do, but has there been a time that you couldn't find something at the grocery store that you needed, like meat in the summer, right? Clorox wipes, even still sometimes, okay? Things that we had taken for granted. Have there been times that you worried about how to keep either your own children safe, your family safe, or your children at school safe? Have you implemented new measures to keep children safe or keep your coworkers safe? Yes, you have, okay? We've been asked to completely change how we group children and what our classrooms look like, okay? Maybe you're working in a totally different environment. Daniel?
Yep, that's me. Yeah, I'm working it at home.
Not even in his classroom with his students. And so we move on up to the next level, and that is love and belonging. We had someone write about feeling isolated. Daniel, there have been a lot of times I felt isolated. Have there been times you felt isolated, even though we've been home together? Our children, and I'll talk more about this in a minute, have definitely felt isolated. So I just want to say, in the past, have we always had children that we worried about food, water, and safety? Absolutely. Have we always had children that we worried about that they might be living in isolation or might feel isolated? Absolutely. We were able to put them in the environment of our school, though, and change some of that. We could make them feel welcome, make them feel connected, put them in groups, send them home with food. We still did those things this year, but I think what happened is it changed to the entire population became worried about that. So whereas in the past, you would have pockets of need, right? Like, so your school might really need you, or a child or family at school might really need you, or you would have something in your personal life that might really need you. The difference is this year, those stressors have all been put at one time, okay? And that's why we want to acknowledge this and want to start with SEL, okay? And I'm gonna give you just a personal example of this, okay? So this was something I posted. Daniel and I have a Facebook group that's called
Bluegrass EDU.
Bluegrass EDU. And then there is a blog too. There's not as much on that blog right now that we posted recently, but we do still post in the Facebook group pretty frequently. And I posted that I found out yesterday that elementary age children and younger likely will not have a vaccine available until this time next year. So just to give you, if you've not worked with us before, our younger son, our 9-year-old, is a stroke survivor. He had a stroke before he was born. That's resulted in, if you think about an adult, that's had a stroke, he has right-sided hemiplegia. The right side of his body doesn't work the same as the left side of his body. So he has some degree of paralysis on that side. And that also resulted in cerebral palsy and epilepsy. On the day, March 12th last year, that we found out that the whole world was going to lock down, Jonah had a respiratory virus and he had his first seizure in 5.5 years. And then through those doctor's appointments and some testing, was diagnosed with epilepsy on the first day of lockdown. We were able to get in some shorter testing, but we've been waiting a year now for a vaccine for him to be put in the hospital for additional testing. So I share this with you. Now, the other news that we got yesterday from the federal government was that all children must mandatory take state testing. Yeah. So, and we're not going to go in and talk about, that's not the purpose of this session, but I want to talk to you about that in relationship to Maslow's. So when one day our family found out, oh my gosh, we're going to have to work this out with this neurologist and find out when we can do more testing. Yeah. Plus, we're still both working our jobs, and we are now trying to navigate, the neurologist has told us not to take him into a school. At what will that look like for testing for Jonah, and how do we not let the school down, and how do we not let Jonah down and still keep him safe? So I want to bring that up. This time last year, he hadn't had the formal epilepsy diagnosis yet, and the world hadn't been living in a pandemic. Yeah. We are just one story of many, many, many stories. So we all feel different levels of stress about different things, but I wanted to bring that up because sometimes I think if you have a voice with a story, I feel like our family is sort of the example of working at the lower, we're doing okay. We are very blessed that we have a house and we have jobs that allow us this flexibility. We are blessed, but we're still working at varying levels of blooms of Maslow's. Okay. I just think sometimes it helps to hear those personal stories. Yeah. We have some funnier ones too that we could share later. He was actually our son's history teacher last year. So if we have extra time, we come back from break, we'll share that. Okay, so let's jump right in. I think hopefully we've built the case for you about why we're focusing on SEL, and that although it feels like we're nearing the end and hope is on the horizon, our families are also in different places just like you are, okay? This is from this book called Brain Boost, and I'll show you the cover in just a minute. Although mild stress is experienced by all people, excessive stressors that occur early in life can have damaging outcomes that are difficult to repair. With too much stress or fear, the receptors for learning shut down. And you will see it on the PowerPoint slide. Let's go ahead and advance the PowerPoint slide or the Google slide. You get it? It needed you. Okay. But this is a book called Boosting Brain Power, 52 Ways to Use What Science Tells Us. And if you're looking for a really short read or a quick book study for any early childhood folks, like up through 3rd grade, that you think may be interested in some of these little brain nuggets, that's a really cool book. I use it quite a bit. But this is what she goes on to explain. There are really 3 types of stress that are going to impact the children that we're serving. We can put them in these 3 categories. Positive stress, which is mildly stressful events such as taking a break from a favorite toy, leaving a friend's house. These are just everyday stressors that kids are going to deal with. They'll become really upset. and then they're going to be able to calm down and return to baseline, okay? Then the next level of stress is called tolerable stress. And this can be really strong and significant for periods of the child's life. It might be a parent's divorce. It might be a loss of someone that's close to them. It might be moving away from their school. So it is significant stress, but with a good relationship with an adult and a support system, children can recover from this type of stress fairly, not easily is not the right word, but they can recover from this type of stress, okay? But they will need that relationship. Okay, and the last type of stress that she talks about is toxic stress. And this results from long-term, strong, reoccurring adverse reaction conditions. So this would be abuse. This would be an erratic home life without any routine or neglect. This causes toxic levels of stress that has devastating effects on the brain and can actually change the way the brain functions. Children could develop smaller amygdalas and other components of the brain, or they just will not function as well, even into adulthood, if they do not receive the types of help that they need. Children in this type of stress will need long-term help from a qualified individual, and a supportive relationship from a caregiving adult is imperative. Okay, so I want to bring that up because, you know, when we say, oh, we feel stressed, or oh, we're at lower levels, there's a difference in our family for 1 week not being able to find meat at the grocery store and a child that does not have food at home, right? So there is a difference in that. So the strategies that we're going to share with you today will work really well for positive stress. Okay, those stresses that occur day to day in children. They will also help you build the type of relationship that you need with your students to help them through tolerable stress. Okay, but toxic stress, of course, it will help you build a relationship. If you are going to be that supportive caregiver, they're going to need help of community organizations, and we'll talk more about that in just a second. So this is what she says to do. And again, this information is from that Brain Boost book. These were her strategies. As soon as we get through this slide, we're going to show you some practical examples, okay? Classroom rules and routines are imperative as we move forward. Now, here's what I want to be sure and communicate clearly. I'm not talking about just today during pandemic teaching. We're really talking about revisioning, okay? So taking the things that we know works well and moving them into the pre-pandemic world. So, sorry, that was my son's speech alarm that we're not having virtual speech today, and I forgot to turn off the alarm. So these are the things that we're going to carry forward into our summer academy and into next year, as well as if you are going back into a blended, you're bringing kids back into the rest of the year. So I don't want you to think this is just for right now. These structures, I think we have a little feedback. We may have a mic that needs to be muted, which is totally fine. That happens to everybody. Okay, but those structures will provide external regulation. Knowing what to expect will develop external comfort, and that will help develop internal regulation for students. Okay, so routines and rituals. Reading and sharing stories together and viewing media about fictional characters or real life events who have experienced resiliency, especially if it is similar to the resiliency that that child is facing, okay? And we're having an example for that. Partner with families to coordinate consistent messages, okay? So like if I'm using some phrasing at school, and then they're going to be home NTI with their families, it's helpful to give families those same cues, or caregivers, whoever is doing this school with them when they're at home, or even if you're in a 5-day a week and there is no NTI at home, it's still helpful to keep some of that language consistent for kids. And we'll share an example with that. And lastly, if children are working, or if you recognize a child is living in a toxic stress situation, you must partner with community advocates to help get and intervene and get the child the help that they need. Okay. And I think that everybody here knows that, but that's just the last thing that she suggests. So we're going to talk a little bit about mindfulness and about social emotional learning. And I think sometimes what we think mindfulness looks like is that picture of yoga. And of course that is mindfulness. But what it actually looks like is adults or caregivers and children working together, teachers and children working together, peers working and experiencing things together, movement. It looks like movement. It might look like music or art. It might look different to each child, but basically it's going to be relationship building. And then as we shared in the first quote, your brain will shut down the ability to learn and grow if you are living in toxic stress. So this, by doing these activities, and not just toxic stress, but anytime you're in a stressful, even if it's just the positive stress, this will help children move out of that stress and get back to a place that they need to learn and grow. And we don't just do this during periods of stress. We have to do it and practice it during times when children aren't stressed. So we're going to show you some examples of this. So first, a real world examples of rules, routines, and rituals. Here's our example, and we're going to show you it as today. We created this schedule for you, and this is the schedule for our session, okay? So hello, friends, and welcome. We did that. We networked. We chatted about distance learning and how you felt stretched. We've already checked that off the list. We're halfway through our SEL strategies here, so we're halfway checking that one off the list. We're going to do a crazy, fast TechTools blitz, run through. You're going to have a brain break, then a slowed down version of that same tech. And we're going to show you actually with specific examples of how we used it. Okay. I think sometimes when we just show TechTools and we don't show the modeling for it, it makes it harder. And then a breakout discussion, and then we're all finished. Okay. So this is a schedule that we have used with our children at home. And I've used it in a lot of workshops, but I just think it's helpful to know what we're going to do today. Now, one of the strategies that we mentioned was being consistent with home and school. And this was something we learned very quickly when we started NTI instruction with our children at home. We're both teachers. We both worked in a lot of different, upper grades and lower grades. So we should have had both of our children covered, but we were fighting them. I mean, a lot. And fighting with each other a lot over getting everything done because everyone was so stressed. We had some parent conferences about our older child together. And I thought one night, I was laying there in bed and I thought, oh my gosh, you are using absolutely zero of the strategies that you know to use with children. And so our younger son has had lots and lots of therapy. And he didn't always enjoy it because it was very, very hard for him, very challenging. And you know from working with gifted children that what happens sometimes when they're challenged, not all children, but I see it a lot in gifted children, especially if they have perfectionistic tendencies. They shut down on you, right? We were dealing with a lot of shutdown, and I thought, oh my gosh, I got to pull out this strategy. So the easiest strategy that I did with our children is first we blank, then we blank. Okay. I did it with our older child. First we do Edgenuity math, then you can get on House Party or FaceTime your friends, right? So after doing this, then I shared it with other families and schools shared it with families. And we heard the most feedback from parents like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how that worked. Now, if you're doing it with younger children, it needs to be for just that activity, right? So like just reading, first we do this, then we do this. If you're doing it with older children, then they can hold on through the day for an assignment. I mean, not an assignment. My goodness, we don't give our kids assignments as a reward for their joy, for whatever they're working towards. Some things that we did are over to the right. We did movie night, dance, draw, and dream, and we did a blanket fort, and we FaceTimed friends or house partied friends. These were just things that our children were interested in that could certainly be personalized. You can also do this during the regular school day. I've done that a lot there too, and it works in therapy environments as well, as I said. So I want you to take ownership for your own learning right now, okay? So I want you to have it first. You're going to finish this day of KAGE. You're going to sit here with us. We're going to think about SEL and TechTools and strategies. Then here are some suggestions for things you might like to do. You might like to chat with a friend. You might like to treat yourself and enjoy a sweet treat. You might like to watch a show. You might like to read a good book. Okay, so click the answer right?
Yeah, so click on the answer. You should see it on the right-hand side.
And go ahead and click on what you think you're going to work towards today. You've already worked really hard today. What are you going to enjoy today? And I will get our responses.
There you go. Yeah, so you just click on it and just let it sit there. So I'll watch a movie and read a book.
Watch a movie and read a book are big ones.
A sweet treat, though.
Sweet treat's coming up. It's coming up. You know what? I might cheat and have a sweet treat while I did B or C.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think everyone's had time to answer. We had a good response. Had a good number.
Yeah.
We had 25. That's pretty good. All right. Oh, it came up. Did you see it? Just when I clicked off, the sweet treat went up.
Oh, it went up.
It went up. Yeah. Okay. So I want you to remember that for yourself, because that's a part of taking care of yourself. You have a job that requires you to take care of the adults you work with and the children you work with. And this year, probably even also their families you work with every single day. And so make sure you take care of yourself too. Okay. So don't forget. I'm not going to forget. Daniel's going to have a sweet treat. I don't know what he's having, but I'm going to eyeball it and I might have one too because I didn't click it. The last thing is a routine that I would build in for children, or a ritual that I would build in for children is a brain break. Brain breaks are not earned, okay? They're different than what I just showed you. So what we just showed you was something that they're going to earn. They're going to earn a blanket for it. They're going to earn watching a movie. They're going to earn watching popcorn or calling their friends. That's something they're going to earn. We do not use brain break things for that. Children need brain breaks through the day. How many of you have ever gotten up and gone to the bathroom just to have a minute to yourself? I have done that a lot, right? Especially if you're on a really long Zoom session. It's really hard to just sit there. I'm going to give you, just go ahead and say, we want you to get up and take your brain breaks as you need them. Yeah. Okay. For children, it might be turtle breathing. We'll show that in a minute. Again, this was created for our child.
Let me turn it off.
Yeah, turn it off. I hit snooze earlier. I don't know why. It was a bad idea. Directed drawing. He loves directed drawing, stretching like a cat, or listening to a song, and the songs that he could listen to were kids learning to. We kept these familiar for him, so he knew what to choose. The other thing we've added as a brain break for him is a VR field trip. You can go on YouTube and search. His favorite right now is Disney World Castle Fireworks.
Yeah,
and
type 360.
And type 360 afterwards. And you can put it in a VR goggles. And he calls that, I don't know why, but it's adorable. He'll say, Mom, I think I need a fun family field trip with my goggles. And so that's what he does for his brain breaks. But this can adapt and change. But just remember that they are not earned. They are something that we need to just have when children need them, or scheduled, or both throughout the day. The next part thing that she talked about was connecting to community, and we're going to show you how we do that through books and media. And this is an example for younger children. Those are just 5 of our favorite books. Again, you want to align these books to whatever type of resiliency or struggles your class or your children are facing. Here's an example of, this is from Inspiring Innovation and Creativity in Young Learners, my last book. And one of the STEAM investigations uses the girl who thought in pictures. That's the story of Temple Grandin, because she's a beautiful example of a twice exceptional innovator who has really advocated for others and gone on to do some pretty cool things in STEAM. I shared this book with my son. I know several schools that I've worked with have shared this at their family nights, and they've had parents of children with autism come up to them and say, thank you, I've never felt more included at a school event. So it's just amazing how sometimes the books that we choose as springboards for each of these things can really change how children view themselves in relation to the content and just in relation to feeling like a part of the community. And then Daniel has a cool example he's going to show you. We're going to ask you to actually try out.
Yeah, so you should see on the right-hand side, it says answer here. And I want you to look at this picture, okay? I want you to type, what do you see? What do you think is going on in this picture? And what do you wonder? This is something that I did with my students over Google Meet recently. I teach in at Drake Street Middle School, and I teach virtual students. And so we're doing an online program called Edgenuity. And so we have weekly Google Meets. And so I thought this was a good activity to do with them. So I can't wait to see your all's responses.
Yeah, let me get some of those. We have almost 20 in already. Minimize this.
So we got, I see maybe a boy pretending to be the teacher and his siblings and friends being students. We got, I think the teacher's having a good time, the smirk on his face. I wonder if they're siblings. I see children sitting together.
Oh, look at me. I messed the whole world up.
We'll get it back.
I'm going to be back.
There we go. There we go. I see children sitting to, oh.
I clearly have failed.
You did like scroll?
Yes.
You do it?
Yeah.
There
we go.
I see children sitting together with books, writing or drawing at tables. I think they are. They're still typing. I see a radio. I see children reading and writing. I see a vase. I think the kids are doing some kind of schooling. I wonder if this is during a different pandemic. I see children learning. I think they're using the radio. I wonder if the curriculum is differentiated.
No,
Old school, family listened to a show. No TV back then. I see me 55 years ago. I think these kids are homeschooled. I wonder how long they've been sitting there. I see kids with textbooks and pencils and paper. I think they're going to school at home. I've seen this picture floating on social media. I wonder what kids thought about completing school. I see kids completing schoolwork. I think one student's mischievous. I wonder if the young girl's asking help from the boys. I see kids that are learning. I wonder if they're really learning or just pretending. Doing school with a radio.
Oh, I wonder what the girl is looking at. Yeah.
Yeah.
Based on my schema of our older son, I'm thinking she's thinking, stop taking my picture. But maybe not.
Kids are doing some sort of geometry work. More specifically, one or two kids are working. One looks like he's about
something wrong.
Yeah.
Little mischievous there.
Yeah, he does have a very mischievous face. Homeschool, or wonder after school, home time. Wonder if this is during another pandemic. Are there tips from the parents on how to survive? I see a student what appears to be doing schoolwork. You want to go ahead and tell the answer?
Yeah, great, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for all the responses.
So yeah, you all are, they are doing schoolwork. And this photo is from 1937 in Chicago. And some of you are right. This was during an epidemic. And so this was the polio epidemic in 1937. And so what they did in Chicago was they would have homeschool on the radio, because that was, the technology for the day. And so the kids, they would get up in the morning and they would, the teachers would give the lessons to the radio announcer. And on certain days, like on Monday, you might have had science, and Monday and Wednesday is science days. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays might be reading, or, whatever they have for that day. And so whenever they thought it was safe to go back to school, I think it was, they might've been out for like 4 or 5 weeks. They would turn in their work to their teacher, and they would have to take a test to see how much they learned from being at home. And so I shared this with my students and had them do this activity. And then I just kind of, related it to, to today, that, we are using the internet, we're using computers. Back then, they were using
the great-great-grandfather of computers.
The best technology that was available was the radio. And also they were able to get through it, and we'll, hopefully we will be able to get through this. So I thought this was a really good activity to do.
Yeah.
Just to think about. So y'all did a great job.
You did. Yeah. So I think Justin Mitchell and Daniel will appreciate this. And this is the benefit of using books and media. The boosting brain power just mentions books, but I think in our world today, we have to remember that media is also literacy. And, the scary thing about living wherever you're living and whatever challenge, pandemic or not, whatever it is that's stressing you, is that you don't see the future, but what we do see is the past. And so by showing children things that have happened in the past, then it can help build resiliency and build your belief that, just like Daniel said, if they can get through this, then we can get through this. Yeah. Okay. We had our 2 visitors pop in. 3 visitors, and it's we're going to move on now and show you something that Daniel and I, we have an early childhood example, so an elementary preschool example, and then we'll have an upper grades example too. But this is something that we do typically. I've always thought of doing this at the beginning of the year, but that wasn't the right way to think. Okay, I used to think I did all my community building activities like this at the beginning of the year, but truthfully that should be embedded throughout the year, and not just during an SEL time, but in literacy and in writing and in history. And see how that could be a history lesson, what Daniel just did. What I'm going to show you right now could be a literacy or a writing lesson for young children. So if you've not seen the book, Miss Spritzer's Garden, Dr. Julia read this to me in one of my first gifted classes that I had years ago. It is a wonderful book that I would use with all ages. But I will use picture books even when I teach 6th graders or older children, because they might laugh at them, but they are still connecting to them. Because if we enjoy them as adults, if they're good, and a book is good, right? Just at any time, just like how we enjoy animation still, right? So Miss Spritzer's Garden, she really grows each seed. If you've not read that book, each seed needs a little something different to grow. So then I asked children to draw a picture of themselves as a flower, and along the side of that picture, I have them write how that flower represents them. So here's an example. Unfortunately, I didn't keep examples of the ones my children created, but we would put together and make a garden of their drawings. This is one I asked our son to create. And this was his flower. And he said, it's smiling because I like to be happy and not sad. He is wearing sunglasses because he likes to play outside and the sun is bright in my eyes. And he is dancing in the wind to his favorite Disney songs. Okay, so he's drawn that picture of himself as a flower. And what are the things that I have learned already about this child? Now, I knew this because it was my son, but I didn't know he was going to draw this picture. I didn't expect him to pull it together like this. I can see that Jonah does not like things that are sad, and that would be very true of him. Even in speech, if he has to look at a picture of a child that's sad, he will immediately shut down, okay? So that was interesting that he put that on there. He's wearing sunglasses because he likes to play outside, and that is true. And he also said, because the sun hurts his eyes. Jonah has some sensory concerns. So because I know Jonah really well, I see again how that gives a deeper picture into him. And he doesn't like really bright light in his eyes. So we do often take sunglasses when we're outside. And he's dancing in the wind to his favorite Disney songs. Jonah listens to Disney music 24/7.
Nonstop.
So it really does, even though obviously we know our child, it's really interesting to see how he represents himself. I have done this with preschool through 4th graders. Okay, this was a very common activity that I've done in trainings with teachers and learned about them if we were going to start an academy. It's a really great book. So Daniel's going to show you what he does with his older children.
So I found this on edutopia.org, and this is something called the Take Care of Me list. And so I do this probably like the 2nd, 3rd day of school. And what I have the students do, so what this activity is, I want them to think about a classroom that made them happy to learn. And what did the teacher do to support them? What might a teacher do to help you learn in the best possible way? What can I do as your teacher to take care of you in my class? And then I have them create a list of the 10 ways that I can take care of them. But I share my list first. And so it has, like the typical teacher stuff, like take care of our classroom. And then I have like a sentence or two explaining that. Bring your materials to class. I want you to contribute in class. To trust me in the classroom. There might be sometimes where you have to do group work, and a lot of kids, they don't want to be in a group, or you might have to get in front of a class, but I just want you to trust me that, you know, whatever activities that we're doing, you're going to do the best. And so I had the students, they create their own take care of me list. And you get your typical, like there's some kids that are like, please don't give me homework, or I want you to give me candy when I do good. But you really do see some interesting things on the take care of me list. So this is one that you can do it on a Google Doc or on paper. This year I did it on Google Slides, since everyone, my students were virtual. And so this student, you know, she wants me to push her to try new things, assign assignments that pushes everyone to explore and try new things. Make students comfortable. Many students face problems either if it is at school or home, but let's see, it's important for them to be able to share their problems with trusted adults so they can get their guidance and guidance they need. You find out a lot of information about these students. Last year, I had a student tell me that their little brother died and that they're still struggling with that. So you get to really know them from that letter. And I always try, you respond to them and then you share it back to them at the end of the school year. So that's how you can do that.
So something I didn't think of until you were just sharing that. I love this. I never did this with my students, but I love this. I love this take care of me list that he does. It's always interesting, and he always comes home and talks about it. But something I hadn't really thought about, connecting your take care of me list to the Brain Boost book and the levels of stress. It really helped you understand. You have found out about children living in toxic stress environments through the take care of me list, and also just what are their positive stress, the day-to-day stress that are going to upset them. So yeah, that was a great.
That's a really good activity.
We have a lot more of these suggestions on our blog, and there is a link there on our PowerPoint that you can access. We have a podcast about it, and we each have a Google slide deck. I did one for preschool and elementary, and he did one for middle high. Although you can see that one could be used with upper elementary also. So take a look at all of them. And that way you have the templates, you just make a copy and you can take those and use them. Okay. And we also have a podcast.
Yeah, if you click on the link, I was double checking and it does pop up with that post.
Yeah, it's going to go directly to that post for you.
Yep.
Okay. So that's a resource that we are happy to share. Those are just some of our favorite. And then Jonah, if you'll come over here, I'm gonna let you sit where Daddy's sitting.
Jonah, come here.
We're gonna try something live that we've never done before, but just know that we're working with live children here. So this is Jonah, and a lot of times I film a video and just show you the video here, but I thought, you know what, Jonah's home. We could just show, and he's changed costumes. He was goofy when we started, but you'll see now we have, what are you? What are you dressed as right now? He's a stormtrooper, and I'm not even afraid. Does that make me Darth Vader? Yes. Okay. All right. So Jonah, we're gonna breathe like a bear. Okay. So I have all of my friends online with me. So we're gonna sit just so our knees are touching. Do you want to put your hands in my lap? Okay. All right. Yeah, they're on there. You wave at them. You wave at them. Hey guys. Okay. So I want you to look at mommy. It's weird. We don't usually do this with an audience, do we? And what are we gonna do? What are they doing? Who's this? These are the bears. Do they look like they're so full of energy, or do they look relaxed? They look relaxed. So let's do a bear breath together, okay? So look at mommy. Can you look at me? Bears like to hibernate in the winter, and we're in the winter. So we're going to pretend to be a bear right now, okay? So they'll get really cozy in their cave. Are you cozy in your cave? Yeah. Okay, so bears breathe in really slow through their nose. So take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Good. And let's take another breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Oh, you sound like a bear. Okay, one last breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Do you feel safe and cozy?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Can you say bye to your friends?
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. So you can go upstairs and watch your movie with Zazie now. He had a first then that he knew before we started was first you'll stay downstairs and show bear breathing with me. Then you'll go upstairs and watch a movie with your big brother. Okay. So that was, I should have reminded him of that before we started. But that was from the book that you see on the slides called Breathe Like a Bear. And we've done that one so many times. I just had it memorized. Breathe Like a Bear is something we practice a lot. And I will tell you, Jonah has right-sided hemiplegia, so walking for him, especially in longer distances, can be extremely difficult. And he has a BioNest device that helps him put an e-stim machine that helps him put his right heel down. But when I'm practicing walking with him with right heel down, if I see it starts to come up, I can stop and I can say, Jonah, we're going to take 2 bear breaths. We'll breathe in through our nose and out through our mouth, in through our nose and out through our mouth. And after we do that, guess what? When he walks, he can walk with his foot down again. Now, that's just a physiological example. We take bear breaths throughout the day when we're breathing. We take bear breaths when he was upset. But I promise you, if we had just practiced when he was in the middle of feeling frustrated about walking or in the middle of feeling frustrated about whatever it is, like turning off the TV or whatever has him upset, a doctor's appointment that he's nervous about, we wouldn't be able to practice that. You have to practice it and make it fun and silly. And then when they need that strategy in the moment, they can access it. This book, Breathe Like a Bear, I like it because that was a strategy to calm down. It also has strategies to pump their energy up. If you're getting ready to do something in the classroom and everybody's, like this, and they're so tired, it has breathing and strategies to help pump people up. They're all really short like that. But this book, we've used it quite a lot with Jonah and with other children. But I'm going to show you one for older children. I want you to do this one with me. This one is all over the internet. It's called Take 5 Breathing. I call it turtle breathing. There's a copy of it actually in my book. And I do this with my older son does this one a lot. I ask if he would like to come be a live demonstrator for you. And he is 15. And that did not sound like something he wanted to do, but he did volunteer to babysit his brother during this session. Yeah. So I feel like he's done well. He even did a little bit of math with him today. So we're going to do this together. Now, children, if you're working in isolation or you're by yourself, can do it just like this. If you are working in an environment where it's safe for children to be together again, they can do it like this, okay, and have touch. But we'll just do ours like this, just like y'all, okay? I like to call it turtle breathing to remind children to go slow, because when we're nervous, we speed things up, okay? Or excited, not just nervous or excited, okay? So we're going to do it together right now. We breathe in as we go up and breathe out as we go down, okay? So ready? Take a breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And in through your nose and out through your mouth. And in through your nose and out through your mouth. And in through your nose and out through your mouth. And in through your nose and out through your mouth. How do you feel after that? Show me on your hands. Thumbs up. More relaxed. Okay. Probably better able to focus. I know I do. So the next time you get an email that you're fired up about and you want to reply to right away, or tweet, maybe take a breath before. Or the next time that you've been sitting too long and you need to refocus, take a breath. Again, practice this in times that you don't feel stressed. Practice it when you're just sitting in the car waiting for something, and then that strategy will be ready for you. It's great for adults. This is another strategy that you can easily teach families to do at home. There's all different versions. I have some games on our blog where it's like a picture of a star and children trace the star. They breathe in when they go up the star, breathe down when they go down the star, okay? You can do it with different shapes if you want to do it as part of a math lesson with geometry. There's a million different ways to do breathing, but it really does help you attend and focus.
Yeah, it's a good strategy. And so here are some free mindfulness resources for teachers. You should be able to click on the links there, but we have Headspace, and Headspace and Calm, these are websites or apps that you can use. I know, like, we have Headspace on our phone, and it's free for teachers. And I think I have it. I mean, let me double check. Yeah, the link is to the part where it's Headspace for educators or Calm for educators. And so they have different like meditations that you can choose, you know, different breathing strategies that you can listen to. And I know, like, Headspace has, so I remember my back was hurting one day and I was like, oh, I'm gonna do like the pain Headspace. So they have like different headspaces for however, you know, you're feeling at that
I mean, a
moment.
million different things. For young children, they have partnerships with Sesame Street and different things that might be upsetting to young children, or just even calming down or getting energy when you don't have energy. They even have a whole section that's just for kids.
Yeah.
Now, I think the adult section can be used by like middle school and up.
Yeah, yeah.
Our 15-year-old, sometimes we all can get anxious, right? Everybody can feel anxiety. That's just a normal part of living. But he needed some strategies, and sometimes he does better. Like our younger son loves to be with me and do breathing. When our younger son needs calming down and breathing, he really needs some moments by himself. Okay. So, because every child is different. He doesn't want, if he's feeling upset, he does not want you to touch him. Our younger child wants to be in your lap when he's upset. Everybody's personality is different, but we had him put Headspace on his phone. And he told me like 2 months ago that when he's having a hard time winding down at night and going to sleep, that he does some of the nighttime headspaces. And also he put Calm on there too. And he, I was so proud that, and again, we had practiced that together and he kind of laughed at it. And then I found out my niece was also using them at home. And she is 17.
Yeah.
So I just think they're great for teachers. You know, you're getting ready to go to an IP or some other meeting that might be stressful for you. And it's good just for yourself to calm down. It's great to do with kids too.
Yeah.
So Daniel has all those links for you on there. And you want to go into the breakout? You want to do that, or do you want to skip that? You want to do that?
I guess we can do it.
Okay, so we're going to do a breakout room, and I believe Jamie is going to put you in breakout rooms about groups of 4, and we're going to ask you to discuss one of these questions. So introduce yourself. Why is it important that we continue to integrate SEL into our classrooms going forward as we end the year, summer academies, and beginning school next year? And what specific strategies do you think will be meaningful for your children or your staff if you're in a leadership position? Okay, so you're going to be in breakout rooms. Let's say have a 3-minute conversation. This is going to be a fast chat. Okay, and we won't start that until So Jamie, is there anything we need to do to help you get everyone in the breakout room?
No, we're good. I'm assigning now.
Okay, so when it pops up, feel free to join your room. Oh, I see it saying, look, how
There
fast.
it is.
It's amazing how you can.
1 more second.
Now, just so you know, I always get caught up in this. Your mic will automatically be unmuted when you come back from breakout room. I always seem to leave my mic on when I come back from breakout. So I wanted to give you a heads up because I have had some moments of panic a few minutes after a breakout room when I realized my mic was on.
There was someone in my breakout room that needed the link to the Pear Deck. They got on late and then they can't see that. Would you all mind to share that again for them?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you for letting us know. Just copy and paste it.
So there's a lot of
Oh yeah, there's a lot.
of stuff happening.
Oh wow, Justin, thank you for posting those links in there. We appreciate that.
There it is.
Okay, let me copy and paste that for any new friends that have joined us. All right, we would love for you to either type in the chat box or please unmute yourself and let's take a minute or two and share some of the things that you talked about in your breakout room. I'd love to hear from, I used to tell kids we're gonna make a FIST list. Let's do a 3 list, okay? I'd love to hear from 3 different people. Yes, Karen, I see that you've asked for the Breathe Like a Bear. I will link that in the chat box during our break. Thank you so much for asking for that. Okay, so someone unmute your mic and feel free to jump in and share with us.
I'll be the brave soul. I'm Scott Mitchell. I'm a counselor at Jefferson County Public Schools at Marion C. Moore. And I was sharing with my group right before we needed 22.5 more seconds. But now I was sharing, I was sharing with them about we have a large enrollment. We have over 2,300 kids at our school. Of course, JCPS is over 100,000 something kids. So it's just a challenge altogether. But the main thing is we're not just going to be able to go back to school and just do school like it's normal school. It's going to take, whenever we get to go back, at least 2 weeks of rituals and routine, because we've been through a pandemic, we've been through presidents, we've been through insurrection and all these other things on top of the pandemic. Just think of all the things we've been through that they've seen in this time period. Breonna Taylor case and all those type of things that have happened. They have not just been local things, these were worldwide things, and helping them realize that what happened to us just didn't happen in Jefferson County. It happened, the entire world stopped. We're all doing this. And that famous thing, we're all in it together and we're making it. And but I appreciate this today. You've been great. I'll let someone else go.
Thank you, Scott. That is
thank
so
you.
important. That is so important. I see yes. I see like yes in the chat box. Okay. You're right. The pandemic is just one of the things that we have been through this year, right? I mean, it was a year.
Yeah,
So
it's been a
true.
year.
You're getting a lot of yeses in the chat box. Okay. So be sure and check that out. Justin put the link in already for Breathe Like a Bear. Thank you so much, Justin. All right. So we heard from one. I'd love to hear from two more. And then after this, we're going to do our break. So first we share, then we break.
I'll go. I am Sherry Hatfield, teach fourth grade in Jefferson County and hoping to get to go back soon. And a lot of my students, they keep asking me, do we have a return date? When we're going back to school. So I've been talking to them about what school will look like because I'm worried about them being disappointed and thinking they're going to come back and it's going to be like it was when they left last March, and letting them know that it's not going to be like that. We want to be able to do group work. You're going to be wearing a mask, playground in one class at a time, and just all the different things that they will encounter when we go back.
Yeah, it's different. It's hard because what we visualize is our schema, and we're make some changes to that for safety. It's hard. Thank you so much for sharing that,
Thank
Sherry.
you.
We appreciate that. All right, that was two. Let's hear from our final voice.
I will share something. My name is Rachel Matthews. Let me start my video. I don't know if anybody can see me. I see Scott. Hi, Scott. I just want to say I really love all the text resources that you're sharing. I am a gifted and talented teacher, and I think that giving kids an opportunity to connect with text is so important because it brings their story to life. They can see their story through the story of another character in the book, and it makes them feel like the things that they're going through or the things that they're experiencing are normal things. And so I really love to be able to have, I've already ordered several of the books on Amazon while we're here on this training because I'm going to be co-teaching in primary classes. And I think what we will see is that some of the trauma will continue. And for some of our younger kids, it may not come out right away. We just started back in person Monday for the first time, and the kids are overjoyed. Where kindergarten through second graders are in the building and everybody is overjoyed, but we're kind of in the honeymoon period, right? Where yes, we finally did it. We're back in the classroom. But then they're going to start to see and really process, some of the emotions they're experiencing. I have a few friends that aren't coming back. They're remaining virtual. What about those friends? So I feel like these things are going to be, these SEL strategies are important for us to keep in mind as we move forward and incorporating them into so much of what we do every day and realizing that this is the foundation of kids being able to learn, that we have to attend to these needs so that they can learn.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think you're spot on. We completely agree. And that is so important. We're glad the resources have been useful to you. I'm going to go back to share screen. Now, we are not going to talk about these tech tools right now because we're going to have a break, but I wanted to show you where to find these, because during your break, if you come back, you may choose to go ahead and look at some of these or download them as apps on your phone. We aren't going to talk about them as tech tools because we have real application examples that we'll show you this afternoon. We're only about 5 minutes over on where we wanted to be. So I think we're okay on time. How about well, let's get through this part and then we'll talk about. So this is Pear Deck.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys know
So we've
about
been
Pear
using
Deck.
that, yeah.
This is the one that we've been using. Okay. If you sign up for an account, if you don't have one, you get 30 days of all the features, and then you get fewer features.
Yeah, you get fewer features after 30 days. I think just like type in the short answer and multiple choice. That's free, and you can see responses.
Yeah. So it's still worth using for the free version. Okay. Jamboard is one that we're going to talk to you about. Padlet is another version similar to Jamboard we're going to talk to you about.
Flipgrid. And then there is Canva. We use, that's how we did the layout for this on Google Slides. So it's awesome. And then finally is Wakelet. Oh, not finally.
My finally
Your
is Chatterpix. His finally is Wakelet. My finally is Chatterpix. Okay. So those will be the ones that we'll be using in the afternoon. The pictures are linked unless it's an app, and then you have to search.
And we'll have to, since we'll put the Google slide in the chat box, because on Pear Deck they came.
Okay, we'll do that right now. We'll put the link to the Google Slides in the chat box. Let's have a 13-minute break. Does that sound good?
That sounds great.
Okay, so I'm going to set a timer, be back here in 13 minutes. Go ahead and the timer just went off. We're going to go ahead and start back. Again, you do not need to be in the Pear Deck. We put the link to our Google Slides in the chat box if you'd like to just follow along there, or you can just view it in Zoom. So this was our brain break slide. We had a drink and a snack.
Yep. That's what we did.
And we walked around a bit. So now we're going to put it all together. We're going to show you how those tech tools that we quickly blessed on over, just to show you the ones that we were using, and we're going to show you how we use them with kids, okay? And families. So often we hear people talking about, and it says distance learning strategies, but we know best practice strategies are just best practice strategies. It's like you can use a pencil during distance learning, and you can use a pencil during school, and you can do a lot of different things with that pencil. It's just a tool. Okay. So that's why we like to call them tech tools and focus on the fact they're just a tool. If you know something is best for kids in face-to-face learning, it's also most likely a strategy to strive for during distance learning. Think, pair, shares, choice sports, questioning techniques. These are tools that we use to guide learning and can be adapted to work in whatever type of environment that your children are working. So as we think about planning for these strategies, we're going to break it down into two components. I think we may have one mic that needs to be muted. So we will think about interactions, and we're going to break down the interactions to be teacher caregiver interactions, or teacher parent interactions, what we used to refer to that as, and then adult child interactions, and then child to child interactions. So I'm going to start off with something that I have done with the young children that I serve, and this is actually an early childhood preschool example. Okay. But it would work for many different ages. One thing that I learned, regardless of if I'm talking about a caregiver and a child learning together at home for NTI or distance learning, whatever, virtual learning, whatever you call it, or I'm talking about a volunteer that comes into my classroom, a co-teacher that comes into my classroom, or a support staff that comes into my classroom, any adult that is working with that child, a lot of times we'll send them to buddy read together or read text together. And I like to, what I have found is it's most helpful if I help them plan for those discussions. And I do that through interactive read alouds. One of my very favorite strategies to use is called the crowd strategy, because it works with any book or media. And it's going to take you through varying levels of questioning. So first, we're going to start with fill in the blank type questions. Then we're going to ask a direct recall question from the story or the media. Then I'm going to ask an open-ended question. I'm going to discuss a question that just talks about, it encourages kids to talk about the important ideas in the story. Then I'm going to focus on one of those traditional WH questions, and I'm going to vary that. Lastly, I'm going to do a distancing question, and that's going to ask the child to connect this media or this story to their own life. Okay, so how do I do that? How do I teach people that may not be educators or may be educators, but have spent, for example, Daniel has stepped out of the room, but he taught high school English language for a lot of years. He's a fabulous EL teacher. I mean, I'm biased, but I have seen him teach, and he does an amazing job. He did curriculum compacting with EL students and let them pre-test out of things. He used all of the best practice gifted strategies with his EL students, okay? But when he started co-teaching in that elementary classroom, he had only, his other degree was a high school history teacher.
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean that he wasn't a good teacher. It just means he hadn't been taught those literacy strategies, okay? So this would have been beneficial to him. So if I want to control and think about how the children are going to interact with text, I'm going to have these questions written out for them. And you can see I typed that here. And that would be a list of questions I could send him with the group of children, or if the children are going to learn with him, I could say, hey, we read that we're going to use the very hungry caterpillar or very lonely firefly for our science lessons this week. I would love for you to read and discuss this with the kids. This is what I'm going to be doing in my class, and you can reinforce that there. So you can do it on one sheet of paper here. Then during virtual learning, one thing I did is in Google Slides or in Canva, I typed up book discussion cards, but the book discussion cards you can see are just these crowd interactive read aloud questions. So if you're having a family engagement night or you're sending things home with families, this kind of looks teachery, not like a worksheet, but this looks more schooly. This makes it look more like a game, but it's the very same question. So sending home those crowd questions are one thing that I have done to help families and also to help other adults and how they interact with children with text and media. Okay. Again, that very lonely firefly was feeling lonely. So connecting back, he couldn't find any other fireflies and he spends all of his time looking for light. The book that I selected, that loneliness is a topic that children may be dealing with right now. Okay. So it connects back to what we talked about with SEL. Now, this is an activity, and that's actually Jonah in his classroom. Remember when we could go in and work with kids in classrooms? How fun that was. And this is how you can do something similar and create those questioning cards that are not for books and media, but for an experience. This article right here is from NACE. NACE is the National Association for the Education of Young Children, but this strategy is not just for young children. It really gives you examples of how to write your questions to different levels of Bloom's taxonomy. We talked a lot about Maslow, and we don't forget about Bloom just because we are remembering Maslow. And so you could do the same thing. Again, this looks a little teachery. It's something I gave teachers that were at a training of mine, but I could easily type this out as those discussion cards again for the group to experience or the adult that's working with that child. All of those things or each of those things were either designed in Google Slides, which we don't have a little screen share for because you're probably all familiar with that one, or Canva. Canva is free for educators. We didn't know that. I actually bought a Canva account before I realized it was free for educators. I literally use it for everything. I go to Canva first, and then I save it as a JPEG and put it in as all of this was created in Canva, all of the background. And it's just templates that are already up. I made a Google Classroom. I made a virtual classroom in Canva. There's just so much you can do. We don't have time to go over that all right now, but you know how to contact us. And we'll be happy to share that with you.
Yeah, if you click on the free for educators, it takes you to the page to sign up. I think the only thing, I think you have to fill out a form, and I think you have to upload your teaching certificate to get the free.
Okay, it's really worth it though if you're interested in making things look engaging. But even the free version, I used the free version for years. I just bought it this year. The free version still has a lot of options.
All right, so next up, I got to give, and I'm glad Justin Mitchell is hosting this. So I have to give credit where credit is due. This is something I got from Justin Mitchell. He would host a talk show for his kids. And like it was like they would do. Now you jump in anytime you want to. I'm assuming you did it at the end of a unit to kind of like review the material for that unit. If you can get his, we'll only see.
Trying to find you, Justin.
Try to find you on the Zoom since we don't use Zoom a lot. Hit that.
Nope, you're right. You're absolutely.
All right, and you jump in, and I saw like you had a student do a theme song for your talk show. Right? Is that correct?
Yeah. Actually, it was a teacher's son who goes to another school wanted to do a theme or a sort of a theme song to it. So yeah.
Yeah. And so I saw that, and I emailed you up, and I was like, man, how do you do this? This is really cool. So this is where I got it from him. And so I created my own theme song using GarageBand, but
and it brought him a lot of joy.
It brought me a lot of joy. So I picked the instruments, the guitar and the bass and the drums, and there was no singing involved on it. But so I created a theme song, and so what we do is I use CNN 10 as my bell ringer when I was teaching history. And so whenever like the internet was down, or whenever we did these talk shows, we did BNN 10. And so for 10 minutes, I would share the story. So we have this story right here of in China, they were limiting video game players 90 minutes a day, and then they cut you off at 10 p.m. And so we had a class discussion about that, like, should the United States maybe do something like this, or should we not? And so that's how I kind of started each talk show, was with that. And then we would do like a review game. And so you can see in the picture there, that is the Crocodile Dentist game. So if you just Google on Amazon, you can just type Crocodile Dentist, and you got to get the real one, whatever, I don't know what whatever game company makes that. Because I got like the cheaper version, and it didn't work too well. But I got this idea from Teach Like a Pirate. And so what the kids do is you give them like a review sheet, and you have them in teams, and they answer the questions. And whoever gets the most right, you put them in the kids in order of like who gets to start first on the crocodile. And so when they press their finger down, the goal is to not have the crocodile like eat your hand. And so they can decide to continue on, or do we want to stop? And each tooth is a point, and it doubles. So like the first tooth is 2 points, and then if you want to continue going, it's 4 points. And so it just keeps doubling and doubling, and the stakes get higher, and then they can decide to pass it off to the next team. That way they can knock them out or whatever. So that was a really fun game for them to play. Also did, this is something for like the history teachers. This is Freck from Amped Up Learning, and they're just like flashcards. And so we would have like a Freck down where I would ask them a question, and then I got like buzzers from like the parent teacher store. Like they would just like slap it, and then they would answer the question.
And you involved lots of different students in each of these, right? Yeah.
And so that was one part, is reviewing for the test. And then depending on whatever I want to do, I would have students as guests. So like for one class, I might, whoever had the highest GP, like the grade in the class, they would do it. Or like if they were part of the news team, I would interview them, or like an athlete or a student in band. And I forgot to mention, like I would actually set up my classroom. Like I have 2 desks in my room. So I pulled the spare desk right in front of the room. And then I had like these like chairs, so when the guest comes on, that they can sit there. And then like the classroom is just like nice straight rows, like a studio. And so that was kind of like the setup for it. You know, I would interview them. So it was a great opportunity to build classroom community by having a guest, which was the student. And
you think about that would typically just be a review. And like when I was in school, that would have just been paper, pencil, handed out, maybe a packet kind of thing. So look at the difference in student engagement and community building with the same type of task. As somebody who worked as a gifted pull-out teacher, or when you were working as an EL pull-out teacher, this would be great to pull in as you do different content with them too. And sometimes it's hard to build community among those kids. I taught at a magnet school that's 212 Academy now. It used to be called James Academy in Warren County. And, you know, there were kids from several different schools and they only got to see each other a day or two a week. So really we were constantly trying to build community and help them get to know each other. And so something like this would have been a great thing to do, to still bring in your content and boost up that level of engagement.
Yeah. So that was all Justin Mitchell's idea.
Thanks, Justin.
Yeah, thank you. Something else that I do, and I started doing it this school year, and I saw this on Twitter from Sons of Technology on Twitter. And so they do something called the State of the Classroom Weekly Address. And so what you do is use a website called Wakelet, and Wakelet allows you to create. I don't know if you remember like Symbaloo, like you can bookmark certain websites and that you can share them with the students. So
it hosts a lot of links.
Yeah, hold a lot of links. And so like I have one whenever we're working on projects, like I have like a Wakelet that has like all the different web tools that they can use. They can decide, you know, how they want to tackle that project. I have like US history YouTube videos. So I have like a playlist for like the Civil War and the American Revolution. And then what I started doing this year was the State of the Classroom Weekly Address. And so what I can do is it's integrated with Flipgrid, and we'll talk more about that here in a minute, or you can create videos, upload them to YouTube, and then take that. But what I do on my State of the Classroom Weekly Address is I just tell the parents and students what we've been doing this week. And then I always tell them what's going to happen next week. And these are just short, like a minute, 2 minutes, just kind of giving them a heads up, like what we've been doing, and then what are we going to do next week. So it's very easy to use, and you can click on the image and it'll take you to all the State of the Classroom Weekly Addresses that I've been doing. So
yeah, and you also put them on your social media.
Yeah, so I have like Instagram, like they follow me on Instagram, and so I upload those on Instagram too. I use Loom on my phone, and like I just record it, and then I download the video and then upload it to Instagram. So it's Loom, Loom, for your phones, and you also have for your computers too. So that's how like I kind of communicate of what's happening.
And Loom also works as screencasting.
Yeah, it also works on your computer too.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, this is more about Wakelet that we used. All right.
So now we're going to show you, so those were just different individual strategies and activities that we use to increase engagement, either student to student or adult to student, okay? Or adult to child. So this is an example of a virtual lesson that I did, and actually I ended up doing a training on this too. And so this was our virtual science lab. Like you remember all the virtual classrooms, they were all the rage at the end of last summer. That was one of those. The students could click here and it's going to take them to 5 speckled frogs. This is a part of a study about nursery rhymes and STEAM investigations. This went out to the people who were participating that in advance. Just this one poster went out to them, and it told them the materials that they needed to have gathered before our meeting. We started off with, that's going to actually take you to the song on YouTube, and it's going to play 5 speckled frogs. So if that wasn't a nursery rhyme or song that children knew in advance, that was something that we could listen to and enjoy together. Again, it's written here, but there's also a visual representation for things kids needed. They needed 5 stones, they needed some straw, some tape, some pencils. and some aluminum foil. So another thing that's important to both Daniel and I is universal design learning. And we know that part of universal design learning, we can think of that as it's just best practice for all of our learners, because we don't know what approach is going to make the most sense to each of the children that we serve. And so here's an example. We have it in words and we have it in pictures for kids. This links to the actual lesson plan. So if the teacher or the children or the families wanted to actually see that lesson plan in a printout of the nursery rhyme, they could click here. That's a free chapter that's from that book. So that's why we did this one. And then this was our lesson hook.
Hey friends, Green Frog here, and I've got a little bit of a problem I need your help with. My 4 friends and I are sitting on a log and we keep having to jump off of it because the log is sinking. Can you grab some aluminum foil and maybe even some duct tape or something and help us build a raft that holds all 5 of our frogs? Thanks. We need you.
So obviously that was me and my silly voice, and I have gotten a lot of flack over that frog voice, but the kids really liked it, and that's obviously just my Bitmoji.
It's a good frog voice.
I've had between the 15-year-olds and this one, I've caught a lot of fun about that, but it's all in good spirit. So that is my Bitmoji. There just happened to be a frog Bitmoji like that. You download Chatterpix. Before I get there, look at me jumping ahead of myself, jumping like a frog. Okay, so if they clicked here, I almost forgot one important part of the lesson about student interactions, or family-to-family interactions in this case. Families could upload a picture of their experiment. They could upload their thoughts, and then we also uploaded a video of the experiment, and they could take a look at each other's works. Okay, so that was all housed in this one virtual lab. Here's just a screenshot. The tool that we used for that was Padlet, and Daniel's going to show you something similar called Jamboard in just a minute, but Padlet is just a digital bulletin board. The kids click the plus key, or the family members click the plus key, and it's exactly the same as you can get on it from your phone and click plus. If you took the picture on your phone, upload it just like you're texting it to someone or emailing it to someone. Or if the picture is on your computer, if you use your computer, then you just click plus and do it that way. You can put videos in, you can put pictures in, you can put links into other documents. There's so many things that they could share with each other. So that's called Padlet. Chatterpix is the app, and it's a free app on your phone. It is going to leave the Chatterpix logo at the bottom. Daniel has actually used it with his kids too. So it's not just for little kids. What did you use it for? Forgotten.
You can, I saw online that someone used Chatterpix for like when they're doing like researching a historical figure. And so I think, to give you a minute, I can't remember the time.
Yeah.
So when like they're doing a report, they find the picture of that person and then they talk, and then they can use Flipgrid, which we'll talk about here in a minute, and they can upload it up there.
Yeah, so any picture, because what it does is it puts the picture up and then it just has you draw a line for the mouth. Yeah. It'll say like tell it where to start and end. So you just take your finger and swipe across and get it on the mouth, and then it's going to talk. So you can make yourself talk, students can make themselves talk, or they can make an image, any picture, okay? And lastly, I used Canva to design that poster I showed you that went out to families in advance. You were talking about Jamboard.
Right. Next up is Jamboard. So just like we participated in that activity earlier, this is what I did with my students, and I use a Jamboard. So I had the picture in the middle, and then I had my text, the same thing that we did. And what they can do, students can draw their response, they can put sticky notes, they can add images, they can do shapes. And so you can see here that they did that too. And it's by Google. It's pretty new. I do think, I don't know if some of the settings, I need to research it more, but I like a kid could just like draw all over it and it would just be hard to kind of clean it up there. But I mean, if you wanted something that was more like where kids couldn't really totally take over it and color all over it. You can use Padlet, but this is what we did. It went really good. I think I think there's going to be a major update for it to where like it'll like constantly save it. And like whenever you do like a Google Slides or Google Doc, like it saves it all the time, and you can go back in time and go whatever, if you wanted to go an hour ago on your Google Doc, you can do that. But with Jamboard, you can't do that yet.
But it's a new something to keep your eye on.
Yeah, something to keep your eye on.
I like it because I think it would be really helpful in math or with young children where they need to draw their answers if they weren't going to put a video in. I think they might be used for a similar purpose, but in different ways. Because they could show your answers here with drawing, like for geometry and things.
Yeah, and I think there's like if you Google Jamboard templates, you can find like different templates that you can add. So this is something new, something I haven't, I just started using it.
So he did the activity with Jamboard that we did with Pear Deck earlier.
And so there it is. You just click on the logo and take you there.
He made each of these, so you see how it changes to a hand. You can just click and it'll take you right there. I'll let you share Flipgrid.
All right, Flipgrid. So Flipgrid, what students can do is you post a topic for them to discuss. And so what we did was they were sharing, this is what we did at the beginning of the school year, and they were sharing their me bags. And it was kind of a getting to know you activity. The students would have to find 3 items to put in their me bag, and then they would share it to the class. And so it's free. I think Microsoft bought it recently. Yeah. And they had a big major upgrade. The students, so when they record their response, other students can comment on that. So they can record a response too. They can share their screen. So another activity I did was they had to create a virtual locker. And so I had them do a screencast. They would go through their locker and show what was their favorite pizza, what was their favorite band or TV show. And so there's lots of stuff that you can do. You can do, so once the students have recorded, you can do a mixtape with like some of the highlights.
And send that out to families.
You can set it up to where you have to approve every video, or the students can just post automatically.
Mm-hmm. So you have a level of security there. I wanted to share, if you're in a leadership position in your district, we also use this for educators. You can use it for PLCs, or you can use it for your online sessions. Another thing, it always keeps track of your data for you. So this was just one online session, and just in like 45-second clips, you can see we got to 35 hours and 6 minutes for just one of our sessions. We had an incredible amount of time last year on that academy. And this was pre-pandemic. This was something that we did pre-pandemic. So again, that's Flipgrid. Other cool thing about Flipgrid is they're very active on Twitter. And so if you send pictures out of them and you tag them in it, they will write back to you. I mean, almost always. The first picture I shared out actually had my son leading a workshop with me, and they sent him a postcard in the mail. So the last thing that we want to think about is content interactions and student choice. So before we talked about the people interactions and how kids can work with each other, and then this is going to be about content interactions. A really strategy that's been around in gifted education for a long time is Think TechTools. So this is an example of a family Think TechToes board that I created for our preschool children when they first went into virtual learning. That looks like really simple things: draw together, do STEAM together, talk together. But when you really look through each of these tasks, it's going to look soft for the families. It's going to look like fun, enjoyable tasks, but they're all aligned to standards. It's writing, listening, comprehension, fluency, finding gross motor, speaking, science, math, and mindfulness. All of these things are built into that one board. When we design things that are going to go out for the student-facing part, they don't need to see all of the content parts. We've done that thinking for them. And so we can sneak in a lot of engagement and skills that through Think TechTools. It's not just for kids. I often use Think TechTools as a part of my workshops too, and give educators choice in the things that they explore.
And this is a choice board that I used this school year. So in the virtual academy, we were using a program called Edgenuity, and they told us that Yes. So we started school, August 25th. And they're like, oh, it's not going to be ready till September 8th. And so you're gonna have to find something for them to do. And I was like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? I think we had a week. And I was like, you know what? I use history choice boards all the time in my history classroom. We're going to do it in the virtual academy for a week. And so what I had them do was they could do any, it could be U.S. history, world history, doesn't matter. And so we had one where they had to create a Netflix series using Google Slides. There was timelines. There was a Google Tour Builder that uses Google Maps where they can plan a historical road trip. There was Book Creator where they could create a children's book over a major event or a historical figure. There was create a Facebook page for a historical figure. And then there was create a podcast. And so the kids got to choose 3 of those. And so I use these, for every unit. I have a choice board that the kids can work on for extra credit, or the kids that they score very, very high on their pre-test. And this is just something to push them along.
Yeah, so you do that in your social studies classroom. I did that in my elementary classrooms when I taught, but he also did it with his EL learners. He would let them, he would compact their curriculum and offer these types of experiences for them to do while he was going over goals and priority standards and things with other children that hadn't yet met those. And then he would work with these children in small group later on their projects and allow them to share their projects. So I think that's important for us to remember as we hear people talk about lost learning and, and summer academies and things that we can do to help not just recover, but to meet our children's needs. I think that these strategies that we've been using in GT, like choice boards and TechTools, all of those are going to help us work with children at varying levels and personalize their curriculum. So this is the same kind of thing, but the game board Daniel did gives you control of, whereas the choice board, they get to choose, that they get to just choose 3 or something. And this one you control, everyone does all of it.
Yeah, so they just work, just like a normal game board, like Monopoly or Clue or what, you have to go through the certain steps here. So I just use Google Slides for this. At the beginning of the NTI, we were just giving the kids Google Docs, and you read an article, type the answer. But towards the end of it, I started using the game board. So you can see they have to practice their vocabulary using Quizlet. And there's just all types of different, they have an assignment using Edpuzzle, which they watch a YouTube video and they can answer questions.
It put all of their things in one place too, versus having to open a million different documents for each class. And I'll
show you what we did at the beginning of the NTI. This. So these were interactive notebooks that I made at the beginning of NTI. So what I did, I used Google Slides. I used a website called Cloud Converter. So I'd find a worksheet, a PDF, run it through Cloud Converter, and then it would turn it into JPEGs. And I would set that up as the background for the slide. And so students can type on it. And then I inserted videos. So there's some Mr. Betts parody songs about, about Texas, or like a vocabulary song. It's like a original rap song about the Alamo. Or you could, if we were doing the Oregon Trail, I had the actual old school computer Oregon Trail game. So that's what I did at the beginning. And then towards the end of NTI, it got to where it was just a game board, where it was, instead of 20 something slides, it was just down to 1 slide.
It helps children regulate because it's a lot for children to keep up with that many classes. We're asking young children to do things that even college students struggle with as far as regulating so many different online assignments. So we're going to do our final brainstorm, and we'll take about 2 minutes for this.
2 minutes, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to go into groups for 2 minutes. This is the very last thing of our session. We'll close out after this, but we want to hear your final thoughts. What are 2 ways thinking about interactions and using tech tools can help us differentiate or personalize instruction as we return to our new normal? So Jamie, if you don't mind, put people into into groups, and then we'll have 2 to 3 minutes for a quick chat, and we'll come back and close out together. Make sure we give you our contact information and things.
Yep. Is there a way to see people go down?
Let's see, yeah.
And then I'll start it.
Okay.
Where is the Zoom?
Computers. There we are.
Okay, it's dropping. Okay, you start it now, or you can wait.
Yeah, start it. Do 2 minutes, and then it gives them an extra minute.
Yeah, it gives an extra minute to kind of close out. Right.
That's going to be perfect.
Yeah, perfect timing.
Reminder, when you come from breakout rooms, your mic will be automatically unmuted. So you may want to go ahead and mute your mic.
Let me close this.
Yes. And I am going to stop. Almost left the video. Almost just left. I'm going to stop the screen share. So I would love to hear from someone. Let's hear from one person to help close us out. What did you talk about in your last group about thinking about interactions and tech tools and how they can support our learning and our new normal?
We were talking in my group about Canva. My kids, we were thinking about like putting something into a magazine, but you had to go through all these hoops. And my kids were like, I wish we could just create one. So Canva, you can actually do an interactive magazine where they can go in and do it together. They can see what they're working on, that type of thing. I use the Jamboard all the time when I teach math, because each kid can have their own page. They can show me their working and their thinking, and then we can go back and evaluate where they're at or if they had questions. So, I mean, there were a few things that I am new to, which I was great to hear on those. And then other ones are like, yes, I'm rocking that one.
It's good to hear.
And notice we just had time to look through the chat too, and I saw you shared several things about how you use Jamboard, like for math and different things. So thank you for sharing that there too. There are, everybody look at the chat comments if you haven't, that some people have shared personally how they use things. So Ashley, thank you so much for sharing how you use Canva. You're right, you can do so many different things on that one. It's so versatile. So we appreciate
It's not just for Facebook.
That's right. Canva is for everything. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
how I started using it with social media too. And then posters, and then now videos, and they even have Instagram reel templates and things now. It's amazing. They keep adding more and more and more. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing. So our final thing, I'm not going to go back to the screen share. You can see it on the PowerPoint that's in front of you, is we have approximately less than 1 minute left, but several of you have joined our Bluegrass EDU Facebook group. Great. We'd love to connect with you there. Some of you have followed us on Twitter too, and I'm trying to see you and follow you back. I want to stay connected with you. That's our work email addresses also. We'll hang out on here for a few minutes afterwards too, but we want to say thank you so much.
Yeah,
we know
thank
you're
you
busy.
all. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your afternoon with us. It was
Yeah.
been a joy. Okay.
Y'all take care.
And thank you, Justin and Jamie.
Yeah, thank
for
you,
helping
Justin
us.
and Jamie.
Yeah, thank you. Give them a round of applause. We have a board meeting at 3:35 if you want to join us. If not, we'd love to see you back tonight for our fun activities starting at 6 o'clock with, I wrote all the things down. They have mixing. I've messed my notepad up. They have mixing it up with music. So music trivia / somebody's going to be doing some mixology, and you can make your own drinks, powerful puzzles that provoke, wiki races, and mind maps. So fun. So no pressure atmosphere. Well, not too much of a pressure atmosphere. So we'd love to see you all later on. So thanks for joining us today.
And we're here if you want to pop on and say anything.
Yeah.
Justin, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you
We
so
saw
much.
those links you put in there. That was so